Okay. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. Let's get this rolling. Oh, wrong camera angle. Oh, just a moment. I've got one camera that has gone to sleep on me. One moment. Let me work out that technical issue. Just one moment here. This is what's always exciting about the live streams. Always something keeping us on our toes. Let's go ahead and start that. There we go. Now we've got some video. All right. Hello again, everybody. Chris Woods here with another evening of live sketching, sharing some tips and tricks, shorthand techniques, all sorts of kind of simplified drawing approaches that can really, well, I hope can help you to get more expression, more emotion, and more kind of impact in your drawings, if that's what you're trying to do. If you want to see more of my work, of course, you can find me on Instagram at Art of Woodsy, and you can see the type of drawings that I do. My preferred approach is emotion first, and then form and structure is second, but it's always in service of telling a story or trying to make that emotional connection with the audience. So that's where I come from in my drawings, always trying to make the emotional connection the highest priority. So if you've watched a few of the live streams already, I've got a few camera angles, and every week I try to focus on a different theme. Tonight I'll be focusing on hands, one of my favorite things to draw, and for a lot of artists, one of perhaps the more intimidating things to draw. So I'm excited tonight to present some, again, some tips and some tricks, some shorthand techniques to just speed up and simplify drawing hands. Okay. If you're enjoying my content, please also consider subscribing to my channel. Like these videos if you're enjoying them, and just that'll go a long way to letting me know that that people are enjoying the material. Give me that boost to keep it going. Okay, sorry, I've got a few camera angles, so I just have to. There we go. There's the sketch stream. So you can see I've got a few hands on the go already. I was getting a bit of a head start earlier today because, like I said, hands are probably one of my favorite things to draw, and we'll talk about several techniques and simplified approaches. So you might have noticed already but you can see I've got these abstract shapes here and here. And you can see that a couple of my abstract shapes have since been filled in. I don't always stick strictly to the abstract shape. If you've seen a couple of my videos by now, you know that one of the things I like to talk about is how the drawing is an evolution, and each phase of the drawing is a building block for the next stage. So I personally try not to just carbon copy trace those earlier stages. What I am trying to do is I am trying to conceive a gesture. So even for the hand, we can have a gesture, and the gesture is going to give us the energy and the personality and the shape of the hand. It starts off as, you can almost think of as if the hand is kind of trapped inside a plastic bag, or it's a hand inside a glove or a mitten. So this allows us just to focus on the very basic shape and energy that we're trying to go for, and then through a series of steps we can carve that out and start to get more of an indication of the actual hand shape that we're aiming for. Now I'm gonna do some other breakdowns as well, but this is just a quick kind of demo on this first one here, just so you kind of see what we're working towards with this simplified approach. And I'm trying to indicate a little bit of structure in there, depending on the rendering style that you're going for. If you're going for more of a crosshatch, or if you're going for more of a realistic rendering approach, this should serve you either way. Not sure about the placement of that thumbnail on there, but let's not stress about it too much. Okay, so there's a little preview, and we'll come back to this before the live stream is finished. But let's just take a step back now, and I'm going to bring up this new camera angle here. Got my glasses over there. So the great thing about hands is we all have them, and so that makes it easy to observe and study. So I've just got my hand under the camera here. And what I want to do first is I just want to talk about the basic forms that are making up the hand, and also the wrist a little bit. And I'll be drawing over here in this side. So let's just start with the basic kind of a 3/4 angle of the hand. And so the palm of the hand is essentially this sort of block shape here. Let's zoom in on this just a little bit. Get that a little bit bigger. Put it around there. Let's get the hand back under the camera there. Okay, so the palm is essentially this block shape. The wrist is also rather blocky. I'm going to make sure to leave a little bit of space in between the wrist and the palm, because that's going to be a place where the connection point is going to come in, and that connection point where the wrist does all of its flexing and bending, it's rather flexible. It's got almost a 180 degree rotation back and forward. Any orbital movement that we're seeing here, that doesn't actually come from the wrist. That comes from the ulna, which is one of the two bones in the forearm. The radius is orbiting around the ulna, and in certain hand positions we get a little, depending on the body type, but we get a little protruding bone here, and that's coming from the ulna there. The radius is on the thumb side. So there's some bone structures that we can observe here and here, and those kind of details are handy. I'm going to make a lot of hand puns tonight when we're trying to make the form of the wrist and the hand feel convincing, feel believable. Anyway, let's stick with this one here. So the palm is essentially this cube shape. The fingers, first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to kind of indicate this abstract shape that the fingers are going to exist inside of, because that's going to be part of our approach for simplified drawing of the hand. We're going to divide the palm of the hand up roughly into thirds. So this upper third is going to be where we see a lot of the folding of the palm here. So the palm of the hand is quite flexible. It can do a lot of bending this way. It can also do a fair bit of side-to-side flexing of that shape. So we're gonna break it roughly into thirds, and we'll throw a center line down there as well. Now the center line is going to help us here with indicating that big mass of flesh that powers the thumb. So the thumb is going to come off the side here, and thumbs have a very signature shape to them with the way that they hook. Most of the time, a thumb is going to be drawn in this kind of a shape here, but in certain rare hand shapes, we'll get more of this kind of thumb, but the hand really acts as one unit. So it's rather, if I'm curling these fingers in sort of a like a drawing back, like a claw hand shape, then you're going to see the thumb curl down here. So it's very rare that all of the fingers will form a certain shape and the thumb won't follow suit, or vice versa. So if the hand is splayed, the thumb is going to be splayed. If the hand is curled, the thumb is going to be curled. So those are two simple rules that you can keep in mind. So when you are drawing the hand from different angles, if you can just remember that the thumb is mostly going to be splayed, it's going to help you to achieve more believable hand shapes. Okay, moving on. The thumb, it's going to sort of attach on the side, so we might get a few cut-in lines on there, but I don't want to get too much bogged down in that stuff right now. Now the fingers are kind of cylindrical, but they're not quite a perfect circle. They're kind of like a squished cylinder. And of course, our fingers are broken into 3 sections. So those lines, or those crease lines in the fingers, are very helpful when we're trying to bend the fingers in a believable way, or render the fingers in a more convincing way. Okay, and of course I've drawn my abstract finger mitten here with the longest point reserved for the middle finger, because of course, as we all know, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and then pinky finger so when the fingers are all stacked together, of course, we get this tapering shape up towards the middle finger and then down towards the pinky. And those crease lines on the middle finger are just a little bit longer, each one just a little bit longer than the index finger. The ring finger is also not as long as the middle, but longer than the index. And the pinky comes up to about that second crease line of the ring finger. Okay, so we're basically dealing with this 3-dimensional cube brick shape for the palm of the hand, and it's going to be flexible, so we can bend it, and we can arch it, and we can create dynamic movement within the palm, which is going to feed in to what we do with the fingers. Okay, so let's keep these shapes in mind, because these are going to play in to the way that we are doing our simplified hands, and the focus is going to be on emotion in the hand shapes. So let's just do another new layer here. So to create these, let's see, I'm just gonna kind of invent some random abstract shapes here. Get one here. Can do sort of a longer one there. Let's think of some other we can include the wrist. So I'm drawing just a very abstract, almost the outline of the hand, and I'm trying to create pretty varied shapes as well. I don't want to just make the same shape over and over again. I'll do a really wide open, almost like maybe going in for a handshake or some kind of splayed thing. It can be nice to get a bit foreshortened as well. So let's make some shapes that could lend themselves. So if you notice, there's already an indication of what that hand shape is going to be, but I'm always working from the most general details, and then slowly through iterations I'll get more and more specific. So general to specific is kind of a key aspect of my approach, my approach to drawing, my style of drawing. I think that's a nice collection of shapes. So let's go ahead and let's start to carve these out a little bit. Let's come in to this one here, and let's jump back to the split screen. We'll move this into the center here. So my hand is at a different angle, but if this is sort of if you had a character maybe relaxing in a chair, or you just had a very natural kind of a hand, there are certain characteristics that we're going to get even at rest. So I'm just going to come. I'm not going to get to where I'm like copying my hand over here, but I'm just doing it this way tonight to kind of show the value of reference, and how paying attention to those little details, like the slight curl in the fingers, how that's going to add to the believable quality of those hands. And I'm going to go ahead and just show a little bit of a rounded volume in the palm of the hand there. And this is on the pinky side. So from this angle, not sure if we would see the that jutting bone from the ulna, but it would be around here somewhere. So we can just have a slight indication of that. And if we kind of use our 3D X-ray eyes here, we can imagine how the thumb is pulling off of the side of the hand, and so coming out from behind, we might get that little hook of the thumb just sticking out there. And there's a lot of volume to that anatomy around the thumb. So we can even maybe even exaggerate that and pull that out away from the index finger even more. Anyway, there's our first sort of basic hand. Just throw a little bit of some knuckle. The middle finger knuckle indications are a little bit off. Okay, so that one was a little stiff. Even the way that I was drawing that one was a little stiff. I think, sometimes it's difficult to draw and talk about drawing at the same time. So for this next one, I'm gonna let this one come out a little bit more natural to my approach. So I'm gonna make sure to get a certain energy. And so with the thumb as well, I'm trying to get a certain energy in that. I'm being mindful of form, but not necessarily feeling like I have to draw all of those forms. Make sure that my middle finger is a little bit longer than the index. And I'm going to have a little bit of fun just adding a little bit more curl to each of those shapes. And of course, the pinky finger is the baby of the bunch. I may get an indication of the radius there. A little bit of an indication of the ulna on the other side. And that just helps to add more credibility, more believability that there's actual anatomy under the skin there. I'm going to indicate the meat of that thumb. There's that upper section of the palm, that upper third. And I'm going to bring another volume of the palm down over here. Now I'm not stressing about really accurate anatomy here. I'm going for feel. I want to get a feeling out of this dynamic hand, because this one here, not bad as a warm up, but it's not really the type of expressive hand that we're intending to go for here. Whereas this is more in the direction that I want to go with these drawings. And now that I have these guidelines for where the knuckles would be placed, I'm just going to do a pass to add some variation between a little bit thinner going into a little bit thicker, just to have that dynamic contrast. And I can do that typically around the knuckles. Let's come over to this one again. Typically the knuckles are a little, there's more volume around the knuckles. You can really see it here on the middle finger, how the knuckle is a bit thicker. Let's get rid of our clutter over there. Okay, so the knuckle tends to be a little bit thicker. So that's a detail that we can use as we flesh this out. And around that first knuckle, we'll just add a little bit more volume there. And maybe just a little bit around that second one. And that just helps to make the forms of the finger feel more organic. And we just buy it a little bit more. So same thing here. I'll just add some of that thickness. And then that is nice because we start to get a little bit more variety in the finger shapes. They don't feel like they're just carbon copies of one another. And there's a little bit of webbing there in between the fingers as well. Okay, and we've got a bit of an exaggerated arch in that finger, and it just makes it more interesting to look at. And for the pinky, I'll just add a little bit of that volume around the knuckle out here, and I'll just add a little bit of volume around that palm there. If we went in to render this, we might even shade that pinky down a little bit as if it's extending out away from us. But it's fun. It's more interesting to have a little bit of fun with the energy before we start throwing all the forms in there. So it's all about that energy. Okay, what kind of energy are we trying to get here? I think for this one I was kind of picturing this one as one of those kind of gnarly hands. So I'm going to indicate that palm, and I'm going to indicate the, let's see now, this just 1 second here. I need to establish a baseline with that first finger. Okay. Okay, so keeping in mind that we're dealing with sort of that cube shape with the palm of the hand. Okay, the fingers and the thumb are all acting in unison with the way they all curl, and I'm going to try to my middle finger is probably going to be a little bit further ahead, just because it's a longer digit. Then I can start to use, let's see, this one's a little trickier. Yeah, that feels like a good position for the ring finger. And then the pinky finger is going to be in there, maybe around there somewhere. That one got a little bit scratchy in the, there's a little bit of a search, but now we've got a pretty fun, gnarly little hand gesture to work with. The underside of the fingers is pretty fleshy, so we can get a lot of bunching there under the or rather on the inside of the finger. Get a little bit of that bunching on the other fingers as well, which just makes them look a little bit more credible. And my inner milk call. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So we have the, well, in animation we have a phrase which is unified statement. So all of those fingers and that thumb are working together, making that unified statement. Let's put the split screen up there for a moment. So it's kind of in the ballpark with that kind of a hand. If I had been looking at my hand reference, I think I probably would have seen this opportunity just to open up the hand shape more into a 3/4 like this. It happens a lot when we're drawing. We tend to go with the almost straight on side angle here, but if I had been looking at my other hand as a reference there, I think I would have gone a little bit more, opened it up a little bit to the 3/4. But that's okay. It's still a very credible hand. There's our splayed one there, and let's finish with the foreshortened hand, because foreshortening is interesting. So for a foreshortened shape, of course, we're going to have a lot of digits coming towards us. So we have to draw in such a way that we're stacking volumes and building volumes in 3D space. It's a pretty interesting exercise. So here I'm going to kind of stack the forms of what will turn into the pinky finger. I'm going to kind of indicate that section of the palm here. You really just have to kind of feel it out for these for these foreshortened drawings. No, I think I want the action on that thumb to flare upwards there. So you can see we're starting to get this energy in the hand, which is what we're looking for. That's that unified statement in the hand shape. Now for the tips of the fingers, I'm going to be kind of mentally projecting a sort of an arch to the placement of those fingertips. Not sure about that one, but we'll see. And I just threw in a slight indication of the webbing in between those fingers as well. Okay, so volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. I don't know. The pinky came out so well, so I was starting to feel pretty confident there. Now I'm not sure that these other ones are really turning out as well. Here, I'm going to take a slightly different approach with the index finger. So I just did a quick sort of outline just to indicate the silhouette of where I want that to go. And now I'm going to need to kind of wrap around the contour at the crease lines of those knuckles to really sell the foreshortening of that. And there's if you're again coming back to, where was it? This one here. Again, just remembering that we're breaking the palm into thirds there. So you can see there's that upper third, which is all that meat just behind the fingers. The middle third is kind of in here somewhere. And then the bottom third is where that meat of the thumb is pulling off. And there's a lot of flesh around the thumb, and the thumb is a fair bit longer as well. I think this thumb is probably coming up a little short. Let's just get that out of there. And I'm just going to sort of extend there we go. And there's that swoop to the thumb. That feels more balanced now. And we can even pronounce those knuckles even more there. Where the wrist is connecting to the hand doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now. So I'll probably have to redraw that in. But again, like I always say on this channel, I'm not interested in the underdrawing or the phase before. If something about it was inaccurate or is not completely the intent of what I was hoping that it would be, I'm not going to just stick with that just because. I'm going to improve the drawing with each phase or with each step. No, that's not bad actually. If I wanted to take this further and you know, really finish that off with a nice inking pass and some nice, you know, nice shading and rendering. I think that could be a fairly credible, um, piece. And again, when you're doing a foreshortened piece, it's really essential that you really go around those contours and really feel the edge of those as it wraps around. If I start to kind of feel those out a little bit more, I can try and bring the harder top of the finger, contrasting the softer, fleshy underside of the finger, and we'll just keep building and building and building from there. That would be a knuckle up there, just to anchor that finger. You get a lot of flesh that pulls between the index finger and the thumb. So that's one thing that we can look for as a detail that makes our hands a little bit more credible. But there we go. There's some hand variations. They're all built up from that similar simplification of the forms of the hand, keeping in mind the cube of the palm, breaking that into thirds, and how those thirds serve as camera's fuzzy, how those thirds serve as landmarks for the articulations in the hand, and also landmarks for where the thumb attaches in there. And there we have one more look at the results, as we started with our simple the mitten, or the hand in a bag, or whatever works best, and then we slowly suggested the energy or the story of that hand, and then we start to build up using the forms on top of that, making sure not to lose the emotional impact of those hand shapes, those hand poses. Okay, I think that about does it. That was a lot of fun. Like I said at the beginning, I love drawing hands. They're one of my favorite things. I hope there are a couple tips and tricks or shorthand techniques that you found useful there, and I hope you can get some tasty hands out of it in the future. Okay, thanks for checking in, and I'll hope to see you in the next one.